Welcome everyone to the Area 111 live stream. This is your host RH coming at you from Central Florida and going through memory lane here on high speed memory lane, I guess you would call it, in my former BMW, uh, touring through Italy, Austria, and the Autobahn. That would be the German Autobahn at speeds at about 170 miles an hour or maybe over. Um, I'll talk a little bit about this for racing enthusiasts here on this channel. We have a few, and a lot of women, men and women, are interested in sports cars and touring. So that's nothing evil. Okay, I actually was somebody tried to smear me. Oh, all you do is talk about cars. That's all I used to talk about, really. I mean, pretty much. I was a majority of my topics I used to talk about as a young man, and even later on in my life, I talked about sports cars, and I was into sports cars. I was into racing, watching NASCAR and Formula One races, and Ferrari Formula One, Mercedes Formula One cars. You know, U.S. Formula One cars. I can't remember the actual like Fords and that kind of thing. But yes, I've been into racing and sport cars pretty much a large part of my life. Uh, we used to have a racing go kart when we were kids, and I watched my dad actually save my brother's life. Really, really, it looked like what he did. It looked like Superman to me when I was a kid. I was only about 4, maybe 5 years old at most, and my my dad would allow me to drive our race cart uh, if I was old enough and my legs could actually reach the pedals. But he let my brother basically ride our race cart, our go kart, and we went to a on an abandoned airport. Basically, I was in Lakeland, Florida, and our race cart would probably go about, I don't know, maybe 60 miles an hour or something like that. But it was pretty fast for back in the time. We're talking the 60s, like 1964, 1965, around that time frame. My brother was taller than me, so he can actually my dad could push the seat up, adjust the seat all the way up, as forward as possible, and he could reach the actual gas pedal and the brake. So my dad basically asked him, "You sure you know how to drive this?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. You know, you this is the gas, this is the brake, right?" So yeah, yeah, I know, I know, I know. So my dad actually let him drive the golf cart or go kart um, by himself, and he basically started off in it, and the gas pedal actually stuck. And I'm watching my brother. He's only like maybe 7 years old, the most. Um, Basically, he was heading towards a retainment wall, like a huge concrete barrier wall. And I watched my dad sprint full speed at an angle, and he dived. He did a swan dive and actually grabbed the back end of the frame of the go kart and reached up while his knees were being shredded on the concrete on the airstrip or whatever the airport. And he reached up with his right hand and he pulled out the spark plug and it basically killed the engine. And that was right. It came to you know a stop because basically my dad used his knees at first, not knowing, he just did everything he can, was focused. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. You're thinking about a a race car going like about 50 or 60 miles an hour, watching your dad uh, do a full all out sprint, you know, like a, no, like a wide receiver or something in professional football. And then he dives. He does a flat, all out, like a swan dive, if you will. And he actually catches the back of the, the steel frame of the go kart and reach up with his right hand and pulls out the spark plug wire on top of the engine. I mean, the reaction time and how fast he got to that go kart, it looked to me like superhuman. It wasn't even human. And we finally got the go kart back up on the trailer. I was just standing there looking at where my brother would have hit that concrete barrier wall. It, uh, you know, we didn't have a lap belt on the go kart, you know, and he'd have probably been killed instantly. You hit a concrete barrier wall like that, you know, going at that speed, and that sudden stop, would throw you over the steering wheel, and he would have collided directly into that concrete barrier. And when my dad got back, he was wearing high top Converse back in the day. That's what a lot of people wore. And I was watching the blood stream off of his shredded kneecaps into his high tops. And I said, "Dad, you're hurt, you know." And he didn't even pay attention. I mean, he didn't even really, like, it didn't even phase him, you know. And we were both at that point. We were looking to where my brother would have hit that concrete wall. We were just staring at it, like it was a different dimension or something, I'll never forget that my entire life. I'll never forget it. Hopefully, I don't forget it because it's one of the great memories I had, you know, with my dad and my brother. But anyways, I'll never forget that. My dad saved me from drowning once. He plucked me up out of the water. I was only like 3 years old. It wasn't as a heroic feat as what happened to my brother, but I had to cough up water and all that stuff. I remember that an elderly lady was sitting on the side on the shore, and she was just laughing at me. I'm like, "What are you laughing at? I almost died." You know, you know, you can't take your eyes off your kids like for like 1 minute. I mean, just a few seconds. You could get kids can get in trouble, right? Well, I guess my dad didn't know I couldn't swim. So, you know, at that time I had visitation rights, to go see my dad on the weekends, and he took us swimming. That was in Lakeland too. But I remember going under, going under, under the water when I went. I guess it was like a drop off, right? And I was only like maybe what 2 feet tall or something like that. And I remember looking through the water at the light shining through the lake water, above me. I'm just looking at and then next thing I remember, I'm sitting on the shore, looking at this elderly lady just laughing at me. I'm like, what the heck? What the heck are you laughing at? Anyways, that was really, really kind of crazy. But I put out a short on YouTube. I'm going to do the volume check here real quick for the people that are here in this channel. So the volume works fine. Yeah, title of tonight's live stream is 97 BMW 540i M in Italy, Austria, and the Autobahn, 170 miles an hour. But anyways, if you go watch the short, you can see where the passenger had the video camera going. But right at the time that I actually pegged this the needle, right, on my speedometer. You can see the white on the, like to the right of the avatar photograph. You can see the white needle, right? But that's at, let's see, 140, 150. That's at 150 now, or 160, I should say, right about there. Now that's red line in fifth gear. A lot of people that are in the sports cars and racing, you've heard of the term called granny gear. Well, guess what? I had a whole nother gear to go. This 540i Sport 1997 was on the cover of the Motor Trend magazine in 1997. Basically, the backdrop was the Neuschwanstein Castle, which is basically the theme of the Walt Disney land and world castle. That's where they got the architecture or whatever for Walt Disneyland and Walt Disney World. But anyways, I'm not doing this to brag or nothing. It's just like we all have different lives too. We're not always. I'm definitely not always into politics, but unfortunately, how politics has encroached on our lives to such a point that you have to, one way, shape, or form or the other, get involved in it, right? At least perform your civic duty and go out there and fill out those pieces of paper every time that rolls around, right? So, anyways, great to see you, Daniel. I think tonight's live stream will be a little bit more in your area and maybe expertise, but I'm gonna go over to change my settings. So to give you some understanding of the place card holder video that I shared on Rumble tonight, this is on a short. Now you can go to my channel on YouTube and it should be up there now. The short video, whatever you call them. It's the first one I put up, the first short I put up. But this was a clip that I kind of like. This was like a 4 or 5 second clip, maybe the most, and I kind of like spiced them together, right? I wanted people to see the speedometer, and when I actually pegged the needle, I was going approximately 170 miles an hour at least in the 540i, and they were rated, I think, 159 miles an hour by Auto Trend. In that article, I think, or there was another auto sports magazine, whatever, that had rated it at 159 miles an hour. But what were they rating it at? 159 miles an hour. That was red line at like 6,000 or 5,900 RPMs in fifth gear. And I still had a whole nother gear to go. The sixth gear was not a granny gear. A granny gear, basically a granny gear is designed or engineered to basically give you more fuel economy, right? So that's what a granny gear is actually designed for. So you can redline in fifth and then you can just kick back, right? Or you can get your revs up to get up to speed, to get up to highway speeds or whatever, and then just kick back and put it in sixth gear, the granny gear, the overdrive gear, whatever, so you can get better gas mileage, and then your your RPMs will actually go back down where they're not like at 5,900 or 4,000 or whatever. You know, they'll taper back down normally to around 2,000 RPMs. That would be granny gear and 6 speed, but this was the 540i M. That's the M firework, basically the sport model of the 540i. This was an 8-cylinder, 4-liter, 32 valve per cylinder. Not per cylinder. Um, you have 4 valves per cylinder. That's 32 valves. Um, you know, 4 valves for each cylinder. So it's a very smooth running engine, 4-liter. You know, didn't have much high displacement, but this car was really fast. And the engineering of it, when I purchased this car, I actually special ordered it from Regensburg, I believe it was. And when I was stationed overseas, and $53,000 of what it cost me back then for this car. But it was a 4-door sports sedan, right? I had like all this weight, right? I had like the 13-way comfort seats and all this stuff, the theater sound system. I actually had a DVD and a nav system, like the first generation, like DVD type navigation systems, the first generation. And it was it was really amazing uh, engineered car. And I could be going at speeds at over 100 miles an hour. I wouldn't even hear any wind noise. You know, that's very rare in any car to be going at high speeds like that. But when you're driving, like I was stationed over there 17 years and 10 months of my life overseas, right? Large part of that was in Europe. And when you're living over there, you know, when you drive like 160 miles and not 160, 100, 100 miles an hour, I think that's 160 kilometers, right, per hour. It's kind of like normal. You know, it's like we drive, you know, like 55, 65 or 75, maybe 70 miles an hour on our interstates. Over there, there's some places you can drive as fast as the car can take you. But the I remember driving in certain parts of Germany, and they actually their autobahns they had like bank turns, and they had basically grooves cut into the road, which would channel rain. So I mean, even in the rain, you could drive pretty much safely over there if you had the right tires. Of course, you had to have all weather tires, whatever. But man, they made some. They still make some. I mean, fantastic engineered vehicles. I'm more of you know like a Corvette fan or Porsche fan, a Ferrari fan than I actually am as far as BMW. But man, when I saw that the front cover of the Motor Trend magazine, and I think this was the car of the year or something. It got like the Motor Trend car of the year reward, and it was just basically beautiful car. And the backdrop of the Neuschwanstein over there in Germany was just a beautiful map. I think I still have. You can look that up. It's in 1997, but I special ordered mine. I have some pictures somewhere around. And again, this isn't to show off. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have a lot more expensive cars and even faster cars. But you're thinking about this is 1997, right? And there was a place I could go to called Specialty Cars or Special Cars. That was about an hour drive, maybe if that, on the Autobahn 81 going from Stuttgart towards Switzerland. and you could go in this place and you could rent a specialty car. I mean, the one time I went in there and rented a car, I was going in there to rent an F40 Ferrari, and the the F40 Ferrari, basically, somebody just came in and I got there, and so I had to basically choose because I wanted to drive a Ferrari because I was into Formula One and Michael Schumacher and Schumacher, whatever, Formula One racing. I used to always watch the Formula One on TV over there when I was in Europe, and um, I got I think it was an '84 Testarossa, but this '84 Testarossa was like a 12-cylinder Testarossa. The 12-cylinder was right behind the two. It was only a two-seater, and the weight was in more, yeah, in the middle of the car, more towards the back of the car, like almost like a rear engine. But I can remember looking back behind my seat, the driver's seat, and seeing the engine, right? And it was a 12-cylinder engine, a very fast car. I had to put like a deposit down, and they actually go as far as before you rent it. They'll actually go out there and you have to witness. They're gonna they test the tire tread, how much tire tread you have on the car. So you won't go out there and burn out and do donuts and all that stuff and burnouts, whatever, and just destroy all the tread on the car. So you had to put a deposit down. They were very, very meticulous at um, um, seeing how much tread was on the vehicle, on the tires, whatever. And if you basically went past a certain amount of tread, they would charge you extra, right? So yeah, you could go out there and do burnouts all you want to, but you know how much it cost back then, even back then, to replace two tires at least on a Ferrari Testarossa. You're looking at least $2,000, at least $2,000, because you're looking at um, high speed like Pirellis or something like that. I can't remember what was on that car at that time, but anyways, long story short, I got the Ferrari Testarossa on on the Autobahn, and I could drive from, like I said, I was right near the border of Switzerland at Special Cars in Singen, right, almost at the German Switzerland border, and I went back up north towards Stuttgart, and I basically was going around 185 miles an hour, um, and I got into a curve, right? No cars on the street except for me, and there came up beside me when I got into turns a Mercedes, like a 12-cylinder Mercedes, like 600 Mercedes. The guy's in this business suit, you know, driving towards Stuttgart, probably to work, probably owned a corporation or something, or big business, and like a new, like a Mercedes 600, and I'm here in 1984. In 1984, Ferrari Tesla going 185 miles an hour down the Autobahn, heading north on 81. And every time I get in the curve, he'd catch up with me, right? And it was dangerous because the they didn't have like a front end. I forgot what you call them, a spoiler on the front, right, which would basically give you more down pressure. The Testarossa was kind of bare, and you know, I was worrying about the front end basically um, not basically driving the air down enough where it kept the car planted. I was worried about the car just leaving the Autobahn uh, pavement, whatever, and just flipping over the air because there's too much air draft underneath the car that could lift the car up. And then another thing is when I got in these turns, because of the wide tires on the Testarossa, my my tires, my front end would like kind of like dig into the what do you call that, divots, or the wake of the 18 wheelers and all the 18 wheeler trucks that basically put grooves, whatever, wide grooves into the pavement. And if you got up on that groove, you had to struggle. And thank God that the Ferrari had rack and pinion steering. I mean, really great steering. That's something that the BMW 540i Sport did not have. It didn't have rack and pinion steering. It was made more like a luxury. Yeah, I had the M or the Sport suspension, but I wish they went in. You couldn't adjust the steering wheel like how much a road feel you had on the steering, right? It was if you actually if you took your hands off the wheel, like you see the wheels kind of turned in the avatar photograph. I actually did that. I took my hand off the wheel just for like maybe a split second or whatever. And it started to sway a little bit. And I had to put my right hand back on because I was trying to grab the camera to put it down, focus it on the speedometer, which was a big mistake. But if it wasn't for my experience in high speed driving, I would have made it an overcorrection, right? And I could have basically flipped that car probably over like about 10 or 15 times or whatever before it came to a stop because it went sideways on me if I overcorrected. But I got the car back under control again, and I got the passenger to basically focus the video camera, not so much on the scenery, but anyways on the road, on the speedometer, right? Because I wanted to prove that the rating of that car's top speed was wrong. And I think they did that to match the I think there was I can't remember, was it LT1 or something like that, Corvette or Trans Am that was rated at 159 miles an hour. I actually had one of those too, by the way. It had a 5.7 liter V8, had the same the Trans Am had the same engine as the Corvette did. I had a 6-speed transmission, but the 6-speed, unlike the 540i Sport or M, um, it had a granny gear. So yeah, you could take it up to 159 miles an hour and shift into slam it into six. Unless you're going downhill, it was gonna peel off your speed, your top speed. So the most you could ever get that car at is 159 miles an hour. And remember, those were on German autobahns. It was legal, not on all autobahns, not on every part of the autobahns in Germany. Um, I believe even in Austria too, but that you could go as fast as your car can take you. Things were a little bit different too, as far as the rules of the road. If you actually had a faster car, right, and you're going to pass other cars, you had to basically signal, get in the left lane, far left lane, and pass safely, and then signal again after you pass the car safely, then you would signal again and get back into the far right lane, right? And if you didn't, it could basically be very dangerous for you because, or whoever's driving, if you hog the left lane and there's some, say for example, you're just going even with another car, you can have a car coming up behind you going over 200 miles an hour safely. They're driving safely, but since you're road hogging the left lane, that car has no other place to go. And sometimes there's been some bad accidents where people were driving too on they wasn't driving safe because there was too many vehicles on the road, and they were trying to go as fast as they can or whatever, get somewhere as quick as they could, and they just ram right in the back of a car. Or sometimes people on the right lane, they're only going like 60 miles an hour, like in America, or 55, right? And they just basically they want to pass like an 18 wheeler or whatever. They don't check their mirror, or they don't check to make sure it's clear before they get in the left lane. And they'll pull right out in front of somebody, and they're going like 200 miles an hour. I guarantee you, depending on the distance that they are from you, they're going to ram right in the back of you, and there's nothing anybody could do about it. So that's just the way. Those are the rules of the road. So I like driving on roads like 81 because there wasn't that many. The curves are really, they're not sharp at all, like on some of our highways, or interstates. They're they're tapered, they're like a tapered turn. And some of them, they're actually built with banks in them. So it's a lot safer to drive at nighttime when there's nobody out there on the road. The only thing you have to really worry about is the deer, right? The deer jumping out in front of you, and you're going that kind of fast, and there's nothing. Pretty much something like that happens, and you're going at speeds that high. But you could safely drive. The only danger you may or may not have is yourself, your ability to be able to understand how to drive at those speeds, right? And having a car that basically can do it. And we're talking about the suspension, the steering, everything, right? The tires you have, obviously, they got to be rated high speed tires. Like the Testarossa, I'm sure the tire rating was over 200 miles an hour, because you could easily get to, yeah, if you wanted to mess around, like I could have, there was no, what do you call it, governor on the Testarossa that I rented. There's no governor at all. So you could actually take that car and rev it up, and basically go to in the red line, and you could blow that engine. Guess what? I would have had to buy pretty much that car. If you have to replace the engine on that Testarossa, even though it's an older Testarossa, an 84 Testarossa, you're talking big bucks, right? Big bucks. Anyways, I'm sure they wouldn't make it as cheap for you as cheap as for you as possible. You'd have to pay a lot of money. I don't think they would accept you to basically pay for a rebuild of the engine. I believe they would make you pay for the entire engine, get a new engine, put in the Testarossa. But anyways, I mean, that's something I really enjoyed being able to do. I mean, it felt like you're free. If anybody's ever ridden motorcycles, kind of like you have that freedom, the wind blowing through your hair, whatever, you know, if you didn't wear a helmet. And I basically went through safety courses, and when I was in the military, we had to wear a helmet. The only time we didn't have to wear a helmet, when I believe, is when we were off base, right? But anytime you had a motorcycle and you're in the military, you had to wear a helmet when you're on base, when you're riding your bike on base, whatever. So, anyways, a lot of great memories for me, anyways. And this is where I kind of like would open up the conversation, right, to see if anybody would have anything to add, um, for the live stream. And I'm going to talk about just basically like stuff like cars on YouTube while we're live streaming to YouTube. I'm going to shut down YouTube again. Let's see here. So I can keep the short and the video up there on YouTube. Um, I have two views, right? Two of those views of the short video. Now, if you look at the short video on YouTube, you can see the long jump, the ski jump, right? That's Innsbruck. I don't know if y'all remember. That's Austria from the Autobahn. I can't remember the name of the Autobahn, the number of it, but that's why I was driving that BMW from Italy into Austria. I think I went through parts of Switzerland, but I can't remember exactly. But the I did have I do still have up a video called Home Prosper. It used to be I used to get was going to get into an online type business. I can't remember. It's been so long ago, but there's a 15-year-old video placed on YouTube. That's my video. It's the same car and prove it. I can bring out whatever the bill of sale or whatever. I have to look through a bunch of papers, but pretty sure I still have it out there. Anyways, that's so there's nobody on YouTube, it appears, but myself. Hold on a second. I'm gonna give myself a thumbs up here. Maybe it'll help the algorithms. But for those people that do come to YouTube and um, I don't know, I've never done a short before. But if you look at the speedometer on the avatar photograph on the short, you can see right there, that's when I basically let off the gas and that was after I let off the gas and after I had pegged it and I was basically going back down to like right around 140 miles an hour. When you see the numbers on the speedometer, that last number you see, which is very blurry, you can't make it out. That's 140 miles an hour. The next hash you see, that's 150 miles an hour. Where the needle's at right now, it's a little over 155 miles an hour, probably 159 miles an hour, because that's what the car was rated the top speed at. And then if you see to the left of the needle, there's some writing there. Right around that writing is a peg. I pegged I pegged that speedometer at approximately 170 miles an hour, if not a little bit faster. And remember, these are well engineered cars. Only critique I had about that car was there was not an adjustment, at least not to my knowledge, that I could have more road feel like rack and pinion steering. It was like I don't know if it's hydraulic. I can't remember the exact. I could probably look it up, but for those that are interested in cars, I thought that's pretty interesting, at least. And when I was talking earlier, I was talking about we were into go karts. My my dad actually bought a go kart track, um, but they basically we dismantled it. It was called the Pirates Den in Tampa. It was right across the street from Busch Gardens. We can basically jump on any go kart we wanted and race it around. And like I said before that, before we got that property, we had our own like race carts ourselves. And as kids, we used to race them. So, anyways, that's part of my background. I don't really talk about because I never really wanted this channel to be about myself. I wanted to put out information only, but some things have changed that I don't like at all. So I don't like people in our community going after other people because everything they say or do, whatever, doesn't line up perfectly to what they believe or what their what their thoughts are, and yeah, people, that's the way it is in America. If you don't like this channel, you can change the channel, what I mean? Nobody's stopping you. Nobody's trying to force you. This is not. I'm not monetized on YouTube yet. I don't even have 500 followers or subs, whatever, subscribers. So even if I wanted to be monetized on YouTube, I can't be because I don't have enough followers or subscribers. So I'm not crying, but I might change that. You know, I might change it and get more into um, things I like, my hobbies, because it's not working out too well for YouTube uh, regarding allowing people their free speech and basically trying to save lives. I'm kind of like done with it. You know what I mean? I'm tired of being deplatformed, shadow banned, and my followers being blocked where I can't even get up to 500 subs on YouTube. I'm really sick of it. You know, if if I wanted to, I could bring back up a website, my own website. I have one. I have the domain. I could bring that back up, and then I could go in and talk about whatever I feel like. But the money I put into that before, doing that before, was crazy. You know, I mean, had to get the setup, the computer, the desktop, whatever, laptops, and I had laptops before. I just got tired of my my computers being hit by malware or whatever. You know, no matter, I couldn't even keep up with the virus protection software. It's like every minute there was another virus and attacking channels like myself, mine, whatever. And it just got to be a lot of money. And I really, at the time, especially at that time I'm talking about, I couldn't afford it, you know. But anyways, I really can't afford it now. There's too many other things that are more important. Um, but that's the reason why I went to just a basically very simple channel uh, where people don't have to pay a subscription and come listen to the information and hopefully share it. I'm disappointed in our community in far as the information that this channel, this community has put out. You still don't hear anybody talking about it. And the main two focuses I talked about it in the last 2 or 3 live streams. People are not talking about it. They have these mega channels, and the sources I have, they're still up on YouTube. They basically they deem those to be um, verified sources. So even if I share verified sources to actually, man, it would stop, in my opinion, it would stop a lot of the sickness right in its tracks and save a lot of lives in the process. It would save a lot of lives, in my opinion, and stop this tyranny and this basically mass murder in its tracks. And then once more and more people are informed, right, they would demand accountability. At this point, that has not happened at all. I mean, we're talking about stuff, like I said, we're talking about some very demonic people out there. They don't care about anybody other than themselves. They could care less about anybody but themselves. But anyways, I didn't really want to get too much into that. A lot of my live streams, you go in for the most part, I talk about negative stuff, and I don't like to talk about negative stuff. It puts me down. I mean, it brings me down. That's not the spirit I have. The spirit I have, is talking about positives, being a Christian and still living in what, even with all the problems and all the murders, all the needless deaths in our country, the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, the organ harvesting that seems like nobody seems to want to talk about. you know, after a certain procedure, right? And how these people are out there like they are some type of heroes to continue supporting that. It's beyond me. It's beyond me, the evil. And these people, what I'm talking about is they just seem like they're programmed. They're like in a hypnosis state, right? They're hypnotized when they talk about these things. And it's as if it's, like some normal occurrence. Remember, we're talking about human trafficking, that kind of thing, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking. Okay, there's another category in that. We don't even know. I mean, where's the journalists at? I don't know. Maybe I haven't done a search. Maybe I haven't done a search and um, actually went out there and looked around to see if there's actually people actually talking about that one specific subject. But I would never ever think in my wildest dreams or nightmares that we would come to this point that we have to find or basically develop our own channel, buy our own domain for our own website, whatever, and start putting out information because the they destroyed our free press. They destroyed our free press. That should be, that's one of our First Amendment rights, right? Free press, right? We obviously don't have a free press. There was a debate, and I talked about it the last live stream. You won't find that on YouTube anymore. Um, but anyways, I kind of like wanted to focus on sports cars and touring if I can. But when I served overseas, I not only did I serve, I mean, um, tour overseas, I also toured in the United States, traveling through the Blue Ridge Mountains, um, we call it the Smoky Mountains, the Rocky Mountains. Actually, drove out um, through Texas and New Mexico, um, and up into basically into the Rocky Mountains, the Southern Rocky Mountains. And I was going to go. I wish I had done it. Um, I was only like a few miles from the New Mexico Colorado state line, and I was thinking about going up in the Colorado, uh, Wyoming area, like the Yellowstone, but I never got to do that. But anyways, maybe one of these years or whatever, I can have the chance to check that out. But uh, and have a real vacation, right? Anyways, trying to going back and forth here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I don't want to play around with the video tonight. Maybe another night I can, and talk about other things that people are interested in to get our minds off the sickness out there. So Okay, I just shared the link to the Rumble live stream portion that's in the chat here on YouTube. I'm going to be shutting down YouTube at this time. Uh, and for everyone that comes to this channel and they see this live stream, hopefully you subscribe to it, and I can start bringing out more sport car content and talking about my experiences. And I think there's a lot of people in that far as that community that would be interested to hear what I have to say. But anyways, with that said, I will be shutting down the YouTube live stream now, and I'll meet everybody over on Rumble. Thank you. Let me post the live stream link to Rumble again. If y'all don't know, I'm at Area 111. The channel's called Area 111 over on Rumble. If you haven't done so, follow me yet. Follow me over on Rumble and basically follow me here on YouTube. And so that said, here's the link again in the YouTube chat for Rumble. Those that individuals that are on Rumble now, don't touch that dial. I'll be right there. Thank you.